So it's about 2, and I am speaking to you from the same place that I spoke to you last time, which was around 7. I think I got a little delirious near the end there. That's the end of the day. Um, I don't have a film of myself passing out at the end of the day, the end of the 35, 45-hour day. But I suspect that it's often more like that than not. Um, so what did I get? I was up around like I said, it's around 1. Actually, it's around 2. I was up around 1. So I got a good 6 hours, which is a lot for me. Um, I'm usually more in the 4 to. I'm usually in the 4 to 6 neighborhood. If I sleep more than 6 hours, I slept it. So, um, I didn't eat yesterday. Well, I guess I had the rest of my eggs before I went out, which was like a half bowl of eggs. Um, but I'm ready to go. The shopping cart, unless it has been taken by someone or something, is currently out front. I will need to take that back first thing in the morning. I'm not. If you pass out or you fall asleep or you have to go to a hospital or some other reason, then you don't need to bring your shopping cart back right away. It's just, the question of not hoarding it and making sure it does get back eventually. So I'll need to do that. Besides that, I need to eat yesterday's meal and probably today's meal. Do things like, break frozen fruit into packaging and all these sorts of things. So there's that. I'm also going to need to finish all of the editing. My battery's out. We're just about out. Cleaning, all these sorts of things. So today is going to be a bit of a loafy day. That's fine. I guess you saw how much exercise I got yesterday. So I need a little bit of sleep. My feet. I think I can walk enough, but I'm gonna need a day or two. It's clear. Okay, so I'm out for a bit. I'm super stiff walking, like it's like at the. I feel like I'm walking around like an oaf. That kind of thing. I guess you gotta remember that I've been in bed for the last month, and I still need a battery. I forgot to change it. So that's different. I can normally handle quite a bit of walking, but it's the jump from being in bed for so long to just a very long walk that my body is being like, ugh. I'll be fine in a day or two. I'll get over it, but it's like right now I am stiff as a board. So I'm going through this Carthaginian documentary, and I have seen this at least once before. I think this might be the 3rd or 4th time I've watched it, which indicates that it's entertaining. This question comes up in the second half of the documentary. The first half, he goes through the story of the Carthaginian genocide, and in the second half, he explores some aspects of more, anthropological or, well, more archaeological questions, right? That a scholar in Carthaginian history might be more interested in than the linear narrative that he would go through in a semester, and then it's the end of it, sort of thing, right? The kind of thing that people in the field actually do. And one of the big questions here is this question: did the Carthaginians kill their own children as sacrifices to their gods? I think a part of me needs to suggest that if that's true, then it's probably also true that Jews eat babies. And that in fact, it's probably basically the same thing. If someone was to actually do the research and to figure out why it is that Jews eat babies, they would come to the conclusion that the reason that Jews eat babies is because Carthaginians sacrificed theirs. And that probably a large amount of the stereotypes that Roman civilization attaches to Judaism um, have a lot to do with Roman stereotypes of Carthaginians, being that the Carthaginians were from the area of Phoenicia, which is modern-day Lebanon and northern Israel. Um, they weren't Arabs, that's for sure. Um, they would have been perhaps undistinguishable from Jews to the untrained individual that interprets people through crude stereotypes. Um, Even myself, as a modern educated person, I would not be able to tell the difference between a tribal group from between two tribal groups from West Africa. I have no idea. Um, I am smart enough to realize that, but I can state it as it is, and so it's easy to understand how, some, proto-Italian trader in the, north of Italy might know a lot about the Carthaginians because that's his life, and then when he sees a Jew, he's gonna think, well, you're just the same as the Carthaginian. You look pretty much the same, you sound pretty much the same, you're the same, and so therefore I'm going to apply all of these stereotypes to you. And what I think is interesting about this, and is really more kind of attached to the reason I'm making this response, let's rewind way back, because there's a story in the Bible about killing children as sacrifice. Now, the chronology here is very hard. This is a Pentateuch story, meaning that it's not as old, or at least the written version is not as old as some people would like to think it is. But how old the tradition is a harder question to answer. That nobody's going to really argue with that except crazy people. What less people will acknowledge is that the stories that we have about Carthage might be newer than we realize as well. I kind of skirted around the topic when I was talking about Atlantis and Plato. And this idea of dating the works of Plato to even a single period is tenuous, let us say. So, who knows what came first or whatever. But what's interesting is that there is a parallel there. And, how seriously you want to take these early books in the Bible, obviously. You don't want to take them particularly seriously. But this is not, what I'm drawing attention to is not the idea if God, tempted the guy to kill his kid and then said stop at the last minute. It's more on the idea of recognizing, okay, and recognize that the Phoenicians are in the Bible. They're the barbarians to the north of the Israelites. They worshipped Baal, which is used to great symbolic effect throughout the Bible. It's all over the Bible because that was the major competition to Yahweh, right? So whenever there's some diatribe about worshiping the right God, Baal is always presented as the wrong one. Images and calves and the whole thing, right? It's all about. Um, I mean, even when it's obviously not the Phoenician concept of Baal, it still says Baal. Baal is like the general wrong god, right? Which again brings us back to, were these stereotypes, when were they applied? I mean, did you correctly apply your ignorance? Did the but you understand what I'm saying. Anyways, so I mean, the question: did this really happen, or was it just something the Romans made up? Well, it seems that this is a secondary source. Um, I know that presenting the Bible, as a corroboratory um, uh, source is maybe not the best thing to do, but in this circumstance, I think it works out okay. Um, just because it indicates that that idea pre-existed. Now, um, that doesn't say anything about separating fact from fiction, or a reality from myth. Um, you know, uh, Reflection from exaggeration, etc., etc. Right? But the basic idea doesn't. At the very least, what we can say is that it does seem as though the idea of the Carthaginians being baby killers, or the broad concept of baby killing in the area, is older than the Romans. And that whether it was true or not, it doesn't seem to be that they made that up.
This simple stone coffin, which contains the body of a little girl, is a real rarity, because archaeologists have found very few infant burials from the Carthaginian period. And this simply doesn't stack up, because we know that infant mortality rates are extremely high in antiquity. 4 out of 10 children didn't make it through to their second birthday. So where are the children? Where are they buried? Well, there is one place where we know there are lots of dead babies, and that's the Tophet. I believe that these children, when they died, were cremated and then placed within that sanctuary. In other words, Tophet is a children's cemetery, not some sacrificial ground.
But are these ideas really mutually exclusive? It could be that very well that um, children that were sick, were dying, may have been sacrificed. Um, this is a problem that comes up a lot um, in sort of soft sciences, or social sciences. Um, they set up these false dichotomies, or these false equivalencies, and then they say that it has to be either or, and they say if there's evidence for this, then therefore that's not true. It's fuzzy thinking. Um, in this particular circumstance, he may actually be right. Although, in order to come to that conclusion, you don't just need to come to that. Like you don't just have to provide an alternate explanation. You also have to explain where the source of the myth came from, if you want to call it a myth. It's not enough to say, okay, maybe this was something else. You also have to show that what you're debunking is false. Otherwise, it could be that they're both true, because there's no logical reason to suggest that it couldn't both be happening at the same time. Um, my background is in math. You can, call me names or whatever, but the actual truth is that what you just saw there is endemic. And when you're watching something like this, or reading any sort of anything that has to do with archaeology or history, or biology, actually, even biology is not really. It would be nice if I could get over the hump. Um, We can talk about molecular biology as a real science, but evolution is still full of fuzzy thinking like this as well. Sociology, psychology, all these sorts of things are just full of this, and it's an error that you, if you want to really be critical about what it is that you're absorbing, you should really pay very close attention to that. Like I say, I'm not necessarily suggesting that he's wrong. I'm suggesting that his reasoning is incomplete, and that that's something that everybody that wants to seriously contemplate things of this nature needs to be very keenly aware of. So it seems to be that the commonality in almost everything I throw out is that it's plastic, right? Which is ironic because we're supposed to be able to recycle plastic. Here's some more unrecyclable plastic, which is a problem that should really be dealt with. Again, cheese wrappers, and it's a little bit of plastic from the top of a paper towel container. But seriously, if the only thing I throw out is plastic or various types of I still haven't thrown that out yet. I've been out like 8 times. I need to take that with me when I go. I keep forgetting. When I take the shopping cart back today. Actually, no, wait. I'll wait because I'm going to be doing. I'm going to be cleaning today, so might as well do that. I'll put the rag and stuff in there and take it out with that. If the only thing I'm throwing out is plastic, then why aren't I recycling it? When I'm done with the bag, we'll stop and we'll go through it and we'll look and we'll see that it's all plastic, and it should should either be biodegradable or recyclable. Even with my caveat that I've got an envelope worth of garbage on a yearly basis. I shouldn't even have that much. And you just knock it off. I don't get it. So my crash around 8. 4 to 6 hours is normal for me, but yesterday wasn't. I wasn't feeling normal yesterday, so I guess that means that I got 2 days worth of sleep because I just slept another 4 to 6. So 6, so that's 12 hours. I think that's about what I needed, and I think I'm probably up. My neck's still a little stiff. I don't know. I'm gonna first things first. I gotta bring that cart back, so that's what I'm going to do now. So it's about 3:30. I have brought the shopping cart back, which was actually kind of painful. Although I am feeling a little bit better now that I'm back at home and back in bed. I just want to clarify just how much walking I did yesterday. In defense of the ass that I'm dragging. So let's put the whole thing into context. I'm walking around, saying, that I'm in great shape and everything, and what, you can't even handle a little walk? You're in such great shape, but you can't handle a walk? Let's be clear about this, about just exactly what it is that I did to myself yesterday, and why it is that my feet are a little bit sore, maybe my neck's a little bit stiff, and I could benefit from a little bit of sleep. So let's rewind a little bit. I don't know what time you go to bed at, but it's fairly reasonable to go to bed around midnight, right? So let's say you went to bed around midnight and you woke up early the next day, 4 o'clock, right? So you got 4 hours of sleep. You're up bright and early in the morning at 4 o'clock a.m. All right. Now let's say that you live your day, you do all the things that you do during your day, and you come around and it's about 10:30. Now, you might not normally go to bed at 10:30. You might normally go to bed a little later than that. But if you were up at 4, then you might be tired around 10:30. you know, chances are if you wake up early, you're going to go to bed early. That's what most people would do. Now, let's say that you had a day like that, all right? But instead of going to bed at 10:30 at the end of your long day, you put a knapsack full of compost on. And you saw the knapsack, I showed it to you. It was three containers of used coffee. Remember, used coffee is heavier than um, than coffee when you buy it in the store, right? Because it's wet. And this wasn't just wet; it was frozen. Um, so three of those plus a container of a 2 liter of ice cream full of coffee. So used frozen coffee. Plus one of those big bagel bags full of compost. You saw it; it was full. And a margarine container full of used eggshells. So you add that up, and you're looking at at least 5 kilograms on my back. More than that, really. So I've got a load of several kilograms on my back as I'm going. It's 10:30 at night. You woke up that day at 4, and you start off with a nice 7 kilometer walk to drop off the compost. Right, so that's 6.7 kilometers. I'll convert it to backwards units after, but I got 6.7 there. Drop off the compost, and then I walk over to the Walmart. 6.7 plus 1.5 is 8.2. And then I walk up to the grocery store. It's 2.2, so that's 10.4. And keep in mind that, I did some walking around in the Walmart, and I did some walking around in the grocery store, but that's just pure distances is 10.4. And then another 1.5, so that's 11.9. And I've still got stuff on my back, remember. And then the round trip, 15 kilometers. So when I do a compost run on the round trip, whatever I've got my back, that's a 15-kilometer walk. And actually, I didn't. Let me check that right away. So, all right. So that's about a little more than 9 miles. All right. That's just the regular round trip on the walk. Okay. But I didn't stop there this time. This time, after the 15 kilometers, I went, dropped my stuff off, walked back to the food basics. Right. So that's 16 and a half now. Walked back again, so that's up to 18. Meaning, if you're curious, my general round trip to go to store number 1, which is the close store, is a 3-kilometer round trip. The conversion factor was 0.6, so that's about 1.8 miles. Alright? So I'm up to 18 kilometers now. Right? And I still didn't stop there. Right? Then I went to the Italia store and I got some salami. Now I'm up to 19.1. Then I walked from there all the way back to store number 2 with my shopping cart. Right? So now I'm at 21.1 kilometers. I walked back. 2 and 1 is 3, so that's 25.2 kilometers. Alright? So, how much is 25.2 kilometers? It's about 15 and a half miles. So let me ask you this question. When was the last time you, instead of going to bed at night, walked 25 kilometers or 15 and a half miles and got home at 7 o'clock in the morning after that long day, right? So, let me reiterate. You wake up at 4 o'clock in the morning. You did not go to bed early that day. 10:30 at night, you're probably ready to go to bed. But instead of going to bed, you put on, a good couple of uh, pounds worth of stuff on your back, and you walk until 7 o'clock in the morning. You might be a little tired when you get home. Now, just how far is that? 25 kilometers or 15 miles. It'll kind of put it into perspective. Well, if you're from Ottawa, um, that would be roughly the same as walking from the Rideau Centre to the Palladium, or whatever they call the place that the Senators play nowadays. Apparently it's Canadian Tire that has the rights now. Now, I know that might even seem a little odd. Like that might be hard for a lot of people from Ottawa to put in context, because the Palladium is outside of town, right? So you're walking from downtown to out of town, but it's not really something you can put into context. This might be a little bit easier. It would be like walking from the Rideau Centre to Manotick. In fact, it's a little bit further than that. Or, because Ottawa mostly measures itself as an east-west city, it would be like walking from Bells Corners to Blackburn Hamlet. That one is a mindfuck. Most people would look at that and go, whoa. But that's what it was, right? So, yeah, I felt it when I got home. My neck was stiff. It's a long time to have something on your back. My feet were sore. It's a long time on your feet. And, actually, hold on. That was a mild misrepresentation. It wasn't 25.2, it was 24.2. And I added an extra kilometer in to compensate for the fact that I was walking around in the stores. But it was around 25 kilometers. It was over 15 miles. And it's reasonable that I came back a little tired. I need a little bit of sleep because I hadn't slept all day. So, that said, I could do 15 really without much repercussions. It's a 15-kilometer round trip on the compost, and I do that. And I don't really feel it the next day, unless I add this extra bit on. It's the adding part that knocks me out, right? I'll be fine tomorrow, even if I go to bed a little early today. But I mean, that's a lot of exercise. It's good for me. I'm not complaining. I'll do it again, and I'll do it again after I do it again, and I'll do it again after that. I will and I'll enjoy it while I'm doing it, even if my feet hurt a little bit, because I know it's good for me. And I do enjoy the walk, and I do enjoy the music. But, it requires some recovery afterwards. It's maybe even think of it like getting really drunk. You get drunk and you're having fun, but you wake up the next day and you're like, it's not going to stop you from having from going out and having fun. It's just going to mean that you're going to have to deal with the consequences. Although, of course, it's a lot better for you to do that kind of a walk than it is to drink yourself into a stupor. But you get the point. So yeah, I'm still sleepy. I'm gonna get a little bit more editing through. I'm gonna get something to eat. And if I don't fall asleep, I'll be back at archiving within a few hours. So I'm enjoying my tomato sandwich. Half done here. And today's video is about this guy who thinks that the monuments around Giza are designed to mimic the stars as they were aligned in the sky in the past, and he's pointing out different things about possible burial rituals and suggesting different times and dates and everything. And the controversy comes up in that the proposals that he's making suggest unorthodox dating for these monuments that would seem more or less impossible based on what we think we know about the agricultural revolution. I talked a little bit before about the Sahara. I think there's a lot there that's less clear than we think. That's about all I'm going to say about that. What I'd rather do is talk about the idea of talk about why it is that the stars seem so central to ancient religious practices. It is curious, isn't it? What I'm going to say is that I think that ideas about contacts with other life forms from other places are as least as good a theory of the origin of God as any other. I mean, this is a hard question, right? Why did we invent a God? What did we, and I mean, there's these anthropological theories, and people hold to them very closely, and it's all very ironic because, I mean, they operate as though the theories that they follow are religion themselves, right? So, we no longer have the theory of God that we unquestionably follow. We have theories about the theory of God that we unquestionably follow. It's not progress, right? And I mean, they're not satisfying really when you break them down. They don't really seem to develop much depth or insight, which does not logically imply therefore aliens. Your theory sucks, therefore aliens. That's not maybe not the best argument that you can come up with, right? But certainly your theory sucks, therefore you should be open-minded. Is pretty good, and I think in this context, not just pretty good, but essentially inescapable. There's not really a lot that can be. I think it's necessary to come to terms with, come face to face with the with how lacking our theories are about the origins of God. And I think one of the things that needs to be done to kind of get towards that is to ensure that people that study this do not have religious beliefs. It's a huge problem. One example of this manifesting itself is that there is a archaeologist by the name of Colin Renfrew who has attempted to overturn the accepted theory of Indo-European origins by arguing for what is essentially a flood story. I guess I'm tying this back to before, which would be bad enough. But I mean, the guy is also a very openly and outspoken fundamentalist Christian. So when you have some person who is extremely involved with these religious organizations, and then they present a theory that upholds what's written in these texts, or does so using cryptic language that is very clearly um, designed to have other people draw that conclusion. It draws a lot of question as to the viability of that research, and the credibility of the author. And I know that this is going to a lot of people are going to be shocked to be saying this, saying that Colin Renfrew does not have any credibility as a researcher because he's a religious person. You know, people will throw their arms up in the air and say, you're persecuting somebody based on their religion, but it's absolutely accurate. And the flip side of that problem is that when so you have this religious fundamentalist, they create a theory about human origins, or in this case, origins of a specific. He's looking at linguistic origins, really, and he's trying to tie it towards it's a combination flood Babel myth. Maybe it's actually more like the Tower of Babel, right, where you had all of the languages develop essentially in the same place where the Garden of Eden was, and then they're scattered just like in the Bible. Um, and then your audience is composed of Christians at a Christian school, by professors that failed people if they didn't uphold and it's a system, right? And then all of a sudden you don't have a system of science that's looking for actual answers using evidence. Instead, you have a theological, a seminary, masquerading as a science institution. And again, I know people are going to flip out at this, because they will present the exact same arguments towards what they're trying to overturn. Well, not the religious part of it, anyways. But they'll come up with racial arguments that are largely nonsense. But again, they're based on theories that are upheld by and you have this system, right? Um, how did I get there? I'm gonna have to go back and look at that and see where I was. No, because I got to that point for a reason. About. Damn it. Okay, I'm gonna turn this off for a minute and come back. Okay, I didn't actually check it, but if I remember correctly, I think I was just trying to suggest that um, if we're to look into the origins of why it is that we created religion, then we want to ensure that the people that do so are not religious. See that's I mean, you can see where this is going to create a lot of controversy, right? And why it's so much easier just to ignore it, and focus on people's work instead of their beliefs. But like I say, when it becomes systemic, then there isn't anybody doing that except people on the outside, and then the people on the outside aren't, you know, they're, they're denied their credentials specifically so that they're not taken seriously, right? Um, and of course, I'm a conspiracy theorist, but it's whether it's a centralized plan or not, and I'm not suggesting it is, or it's just the nature of cults. It's how a cult is. It's what a cult does. It's pretty clear that that's what actually tends to happen, right? So it certainly where did this idea of a god come from? Why is it the way it is? And let's make sure that when we look at this, in order to be properly objective, we need to have that distance, right? That's really all I'm saying, is that you need distance. And if you don't have that distance, then you can't really interpret things properly. Like this Colin Renfrew character, who would not be able to. See, this is how the religious mind works, right? What's written in Scripture is true, therefore all evidence must uphold what's written in Scripture. So you're not looking at evidence and having, the evidence create a story. You are accepting a story as for granted, and then you're looking at how it is that you can construct the evidence to uphold your story, right? And it's not science. That's, I mean, I suppose I'm providing a critical theory of science, right? Um, as critical race theory or critical legal theory, that's really what I'm doing, right? Is I'm pointing out that, okay, you know, science is supposed to work. You got evidence, you build your ideas, but in practice, a lot of the time you often have a theory, and then you look for evidence to uphold your theory, meaning you've already made up your mind before you start digging. And the biggest factor there is the religious part of it. And no, it doesn't work the other way too. Um, let's not even have that. Why don't you just not say that so I don't have to laugh at you? How about that? Okay, so one of the most interesting things I've seen in regard to this is I saw a video um, of some humans in helicopters descending on elephants, um, sedating them, performing surgery on them, and then letting them run off because they had a broken tusk or some other such thing. Um, so we're talking about like doctors and helicopters flying over the savannah and descending on elephants and fixing them up. Elephants are pretty smart. Um, they might not be that far removed from um, our not so distant ancestors in terms of broad based intelligence. Some people even think that they have developed somewhat of a language. They have been reported to understand dialects and to treat people that speak different languages differently. Just like remarkable levels of intelligence that are really that there's really no parallel to. What are they thinking when these humans fall on them on helicopters? It's kind of like a spaceship coming down, isn't it? It's hard to imagine that they would have any other reaction. And so if you can imagine a future where we've all but driven ourselves to extinction, or perhaps we've abandoned the planet, we can imagine these elephants um, perceiving us as some kind of superior being, perhaps even a god. Um, Maybe that's more satisfying, even if it's without evidence. So, I don't claim there's any good reason to think that our religious origin stories are a consequence of contact with extraterrestrials. Um, I don't have any evidence I can point to and say this, therefore that. But I do think it's very curious that there's this meme through many cultures. Again, I pointed this out with the flood. We asked the question, if God exists or if there is a God, then why do all of these cultures, interpret that God so differently? If we accept that reasoning, then it does follow that if every culture has a similar perspective, of some specific thing, like a flood, or like creatures coming from the sky, whether we call them angels, or some other thing. The fact that that exists in so many different cultures is maybe evidence for there being something underlying it. I think that at the very least, if you look at religion from that perspective, um, it begins to naturalize. Um, Remember, the purpose of science is to find a natural explanation for seemingly supernatural phenomena, right? It used to be we didn't understand why things felt, and maybe the truth is we still don't, other than saying that, hey, there's this attraction between mass. But at the very least, we have a natural explanation for something that it's mysterious, and so, and on and on. And if we want to understand where God came from, why we have these concepts, then we need a natural explanation for it. And that's the hard part that none of the theories do a good job with. Um, but that the alien contact theory um, does. Um, no, I'm not jumping into any conclusions about DNA experiments or human alien hybrids. I'm not suggesting anything of the sort. I think that the story about the elephants is kind of more along the lines of what I might be thinking, um, and how it might be easy to jump to whatever kinds of conclusions, or even think that maybe they might have trolled us a little bit. Wow, where the fuck did Tuesday go? It's almost 7 o'clock on Wednesday morning. Um, I crashed a third time, from about midnight. But I mean, it was only like a couple of hours, and it was like I couldn't stay awake. It was a very big struggle to finish that last vlog. Well, I mean, to begin with, it's an hour and a half long. There's a section where I either missed the volume increase that I run over everything, or that the software screwed up over, or that was just really quiet. I don't know, but I'm not going back to fix it. It's a section where I'm talking to the mirror. It's just very short, but it's very quiet. So that's somewhat of a nightmare. Couldn't stay awake. Um, did that? I mean, did I get over a hump there? I don't know. I know that. See, it's one of those weird. Like in the last 36 hours, I've slept. I've slept for 12 hours in the last 36 hours, but it's like three relatively short periods, and I don't know if I'm awake for the day or not. So this is just messy situation. I will say that I have finally finished editing up until the date that I don't know is over yet or not. Um, I would have been done a little bit earlier, but like I say, I couldn't stay awake. Had to rewatch it like 3 times because I kept falling asleep, and because it was so long. Um, Maybe I should tell you that I'm falling asleep watching the vlogs. I really don't think it has much to do with the quality of the vlog. It's just the whole situation of things. So um, I'm gonna say that I hope I just got over a hump here. Um, and See, I'm hungry again. It's all very strange. So like this is again this is like what I would expect from the first week of quitting smoking, first couple of days. So I said before that like I'm in uncharted territory. I don't know what happens. Um, I know that I'm done what I was doing. Actually, I have to do cleaning today, um, which is going to be relatively short. It's just the floors in the bathroom. So, but it's got to be done. So I'll finish eating. By the time I'm done eating, I can probably do that and get back to either editing or sleeping around noon. I don't know. It's one of those. I don't know if this is This could either be a 2-day vlog again, two-day vlogs in a row. I don't know, maybe which would indicate that I'm over, even with the weirdness, or it might be like split, and I might wake up tonight at midnight or 10 or something. I don't know. It's very hard to figure out what's going on right now. I'm just lost, and yeah, I don't know where Tuesday went. When I put my batteries in my container, I always put a little bit of masking tape around it to ensure that the batteries don't leak and other things. So I actually threw this out yesterday and I forgot to get it on tape. So there it is. It's not tape either, is it? Somebody is still in the analog age. Well, it's a little after 1, and I just woke up from another like nap, and I'm still like asleep but not, and this is just a mess. So rather than clean and then go through the same process again, this is what I'm going to do. I need to find a way to force myself to get a little bit of sleep. I mentioned this before about the insomnia and how it. I remember it being really bad before I started smoking years and years ago. Um, I never really found an answer to that besides um, doing stuff. So um, that might be what I end up having to do again, which is no. I mean, that's not such a terrible thing. Um, Staying awake, not being able to sleep, therefore having to do more things. Jeez, that's almost sounds like exactly what I want. So, what I'm going to do for right now, because I'm kind of not used to it, and I'm still sore, is I'm just going to go lie down and start doing some archiving. And I will do that until I pass out. And hopefully it'll be long enough until I get some sleep. And if not, I'll just keep doing that. And I will end this day when I finally get a little bit of sleep. Even when I was smoking, I've been through this before. It's like this, like I say, you sleep for a few hours, and then you're not tired anymore because you wake up, but then you have to sleep. And then once you get to sleep and you're not tired, it's like you're stuck. Um, you can't get tired enough to get a full night's worth of sleep, but you can't get awake enough to stop from falling asleep. So it's like it's a purgatory that one is stuck in. Um, I'd say I get this a couple times a year, but I mean I used to get it all the time when I didn't smoke. It was like, but I mean then again I was also like 18 or something, right? Um, so I don't know. I don't know. It was so long ago that I don't know if it's the same thing or if it's just another example of something that I do go through from time to time or what. I just know that I think the best thing I can do right now um, is just read basically. And you know what? I think that's what I always did. Um, well, I mean, either read or record or just do things like this. That were, well, when I was really young, it was reading. Um, until I was, I don't know, I guess I was about 16. And then I was recording, and then I started smoking. So, um, I'm not going to cry about it if I get back into this. It's just a question of getting used to it again. And I don't, and knowing what day it is. As far as I'm concerned, it's still the day that started yesterday, because I haven't really had a good sleep today. So, I just got to push this, and I will clean when I wake up and start a new day. For now, it's just archiving, and will be until I get over that hump. So it's a little after midnight. I crashed around 5. Um, I was up a little bit before 11. So it's another like like 5. What was it? It was 6 to 6. So, but I mean that's 2 days now. And I need to kind of just deal with it. So I'm gonna get something to eat because I'm again hungry. Um, I need to accept that that compost run kicked my ass. I can think about other factors. Is it because I didn't sleep? Is it the lack of cigarettes? Because, like I say, cigarettes do actually give you energy. Um, is it? Am I just getting old? I don't know, but that definitely kicked. Or was it just too much? Too much all at once, right? Um, my ass was kicked there, and I needed to recover. Let's just be frank about it. But yeah, I do kind of feel I feel better than I did. Um, although I'm still a little sore. So I'm just gonna get something to eat, move directly to archiving. It's late, so I'll make a decision whether I want to clean when I get up. And but I do I'm not I'm not really focusing on making a single file right now. Rather, I'm more focused on just getting everything off. And I'm going to put everything into separate files and combine them all as a last step kind of thing. So um, I think actually I could conceivably completely wipe my Facebook down by the next sleep. And I still don't know if I'm still floating on insomnia or not. I think I'm probably over that though, but we'll find out. This is not the salami I just bought, but the salami I bought a little over a week ago, 2 weeks ago maybe, yeah, something like that. Anyways, this is now done as well, so it goes into the garbage where it should. Once again, it's more plastic. It's a plastic bag full of plastic. So 7 o'clock, it seems like I'm up today, although that means that was like last night, so um, I'm actually, this is the vlog for the 4th. Um, meaning it looks like I only got 1 day out of it after all. And strangely enough, if I'm up a full day, it might be this day that gets 2 days. I want to be consistent about that. Like I say, I'm awake, and I'm halfway through cleaning. This is a short clean this month. Really, I did the floors quickly, and I'm going to do the bathroom, and that's it. So, I mean, it'd be nice if that was every month, but it's not. So, anyways, I wanted to look at the garbage bag because I'm just about to do the toilets, and when I do the toilets, I use these rags. Then I will replace this rag, and then use it for dishes for the month. And it will cycle around, right? So, in fact, I might as well just go ahead and do that right now. That rags from before, so I don't need to. It'll be, in fact, it'll probably be good for 5 years. It's a hell of a lot of rags. Anyways, so that's what I want to take a look at the bag. So the bag, as you can see, is far from full. Even with, like I say, I used a little bit more than I normally would. I guess that technically speaking, I should have put that in there as well, which would make it still very far from being full, but a little bit closer to needing to go. And the reason I would throw it out would be because I would put my toilet rag in there, and I mean, I don't want my toilet rag sitting on my wall for who knows how long, so I would compromise on the bag issue to deal with the sanitary issue. And the thinking is I might as well just throw it all out right away. And I'm sure I'll get back to that once I do finally get this bag full. But as you can see, it's not even close. Even with, like I say, there's 4 Triscuit liners in here, etc., etc. I went overboard with the cheese. This is a lot more than normal. Well, a lot more than I get in 1 month. Like I say, this is more along the lines of 2 or maybe even 3 months. But there's still a lot of pushing down, and if I was to push down to really get it going, you can see I could still fit another 7 or 8 or maybe even 10 of what's in there to build it up. So Um, there's lots of months left in there, anyways. So I wanted to get that down, just to point that out. It's not quite a month. It's the fourth day, and I started on, I guess it was the 10th. Was it the 10th? I can't even remember. Well, no, it would have been after the 10th because it was after Rick was going, right? So, 12th, I guess. I think it was 12th. Whatever day it was, that's not quite a month. But we still got lots to go here.